Okay, I always forget to do this part. I got to take off the picture, and there I am. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Saturday live stream. It's hard to believe. It's like these Saturdays just happen to come up before you even know it. And here we are, ready to talk about something and visit with you all again. So let's see who's in the room there. I got John. Welcome. Good to have you here. And there are 9 people out there already. So if there's anybody out there that's new, this is a live stream. It's an interactive event. It's kind of like a meeting slash podcast type thing. Have fun, enjoy. Today we're going to be talking about dropping the mask, being your authentic self. But let's bring my co-host Mary out so we can see what's going on with her. Mary, how you doing?
Hey, John, I'm really good. I'm a little froggy today. I was had the flu last week, so I've gotten the tail
Oh,
end of that. So I apologize if I have to mute today a couple times.
okay. Well, I'm glad that you're feeling better. It's not
I
no
am.
fun to have the flu.
No, it was no fun. It actually was no fun. It took too long to recover from.
Yeah. It's always a challenge if you're not here to do the thing solo. I don't know how we
You
made it
did
through.
great. I was watching. You did great.
That's-
You did, John. You could totally do it by yourself, and everybody knows that.
I don't know. But so anyway, let's catch up on conference news since
Oh,
you're on
okay,
that
great.
conference panel.
Okay, so it's called the ICSA conference, which is International Conference of Secular AA, and it will be virtual this year. And it's October 29th and 30th, which is a Saturday and Sunday. And it starts about 10 a.m. Eastern, and it goes to about 11 p.m. Eastern. And we have a variety of speakers. We'll be having a meeting tomorrow and probably nail down the whole schedule, which I'll be able to show you in a flyer soon. We have a variety of speakers, a variety of panels, and we'll also be live streaming this podcast at our same time, except when we do it on Saturday, the 29th of October, the whole global conference will be watching as well. Yeah.
Cool.
So we're working on that. If y'all have any suggestions for topics or who to be on it, or we haven't developed that yet, have we, John?
No, we have not. So we'll definitely need that, and also to know. So when is that? That's going to be coming up. So that's not next week, but it's going to be the week after that, isn't
Yeah, well,
it?
about 2 weeks.
And
In
about
2
2 weeks
weeks.
from now.
Yep.
Okay, so we have to figure out a topic for the 22nd, and then also one for the 29th.
Yes.
There's Larry out there. I got some people say hello to. Anchor, hello. John B, hello. Larry, hello. There's 2 John B's. There's a John Baca and a John B. And I don't think I hope I haven't missed anybody else, but there's like 18 people in the room now. So if you'd like to say hello, please do. It's nice to see who's out there. Larry, you're becoming a regular. So nice to have you around.
Love having you here, Larry. I love all your photos too. Keep them
Oh
coming.
yeah, he's good. So I think what I'll do, Mary, is I'll go ahead and create the hi Walker, hey Jason. I think I'll create the link and give it to the ICSA people so that they can post it when they're ready to. That way,
Yes.
people can find the live stream from the ICSA website. So
Good idea.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really great, interesting virtual conference this year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
lot
looking forward
a
to it.
bigger variety of topics,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of fringe topics, a lot of traditional topics, a lot of authors, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of meetings. I mean, there'll be input from Secular Al-Anon. They'll have a whole presentation and a meeting. And so if anybody here also is listening from the West Coast, we're looking for someone to chair a meeting at 10:30 p.m. on Saturday, October 29th. It's kind of late for East Coast people that have already been doing the whole thing all day long. So we thought maybe we'd reach out to some West Coast people. If that time works for you, we just need a meeting chair. We'll just have a regular old secular AA meeting, and we need someone to chair it and tech host it.
Is that
So
10:30 p.m. Eastern time?
10:30 p.m. Eastern time. So it'd be
Okay.
7:30 p.m.
7:30
West Coast.
p.m. and okay. Hey Fred, good to see you. So today's topic is about, and this was suggested by somebody in one of the live streams that we did a couple of weeks ago. It's about dropping the mask and being your authentic self. And I have to be honest with you, I didn't know what to say on this topic, and I had no idea. It's never anything I've ever talked about before. I just never thought anything but it is something I've thought about. As I found some articles on the internet, and as I was reading them, I realized, this is something that I think about today. And when I really think about my whole recovery from day one to now, it's all been about becoming one singular person, really becoming as authentic as I can, being the same John, with my family, my friends, wherever I go, and not have to hide, anything about me.
Hmm.
And if you go back, for most of us, I bet you when we were drinking, there was a lot of stuff that we were hiding. I mean, I was just hiding from myself and everybody else the reality of my life,
Yep.
and
Yes.
you stop drinking, you get into recovery, and you can get rid of that mask. You can get rid of the drunk mask. You don't have to worry about that. But then there are other things that come up, that maybe I want to be more open about, and I guess that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I thought I would guide our conversation using this article by Tina. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Milier. Anyway, I'm gonna put a link to it here, and I also put a link in the show notes and earlier on. But this is the article, and she lists like 5 ways to work on removing your mask and showing the real you. And as I was kind of going through this, I thought, okay, these are some things that I can relate to with my sobriety and my recovery, and it might be a good way to stimulate conversation. So we're definitely going to have to rely on those of you who are listening and watching out there to help us out with this topic. So I'm going to go ahead and throw the phone number up there so that you can call in 844-899-8278. You can call us, or you can just comment in the live chat on YouTube and Facebook. Hey, Bree, good to see you. Okay, so here we go. Mary, shall we start?
Yeah. Go.
All right, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to read from this article that I just put the link out there, and we'll just go. I'll read the little introduction, and then we'll go through tactic number 1, and we'll just go through all 5 of these and see how this works. Well, okay, we're just winging it, guys, like always. All right. So anyway, here it goes. Do you ever feel like you are living behind a mask, busy keeping up appearances, reluctant to share your real feelings, putting on a brave front when others continue to engage with you in an unkind or unfeeling way? Are you ready to allow your feelings to flow up and out? Are you ready to learn how to channel those feelings in a positive method of authentic communication? Are you ready to take off your mask and showcase the real you? When removing your public mask, you can showcase your authentic self. Many of us live behind our public mask, the one we feel we need to show others in order to be judged as a good parent, friend, family member, employee, leader. What we don't calculate is the cost to maintain this public mask and the energy drain of keeping it intact. It takes a lot of energy to maintain your public mask. Isn't that exhausting? What if you had a way to get your true feelings and your authentic self to the forefront without damaging where you are? Yes, it's possible, but it requires a commitment to explore what's possible for you and a desire to let go of the worry associated with how others may perceive you. And here are the 5 ways you can work on removing your mask and showing the real you. Kind of a nice little introduction there.
Yeah. I think being in the rooms of AA and hearing people speak has given me permission to hear other people being completely honest, or at least more honest than they would be not in the rooms. That's where a place of the example of letting your mask down comes from, when I first walked in the rooms and applied it to myself. I think that's sort of what we're doing in those circles, is to say what's really going on. And to me, a mask, if I say I'm fine, which we all know what that stands for, which is fucked up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. So there's I think part of my recovery is sort of integrating all of those me's in there. Yeah, and we all have faces that we show to different parts of our lives.
Yeah.
But to get a more integrative approach is a lot easier and a lot less keeping up.
Yep.
Yep.
That's been my experience too. I'll never. I remember my first AA meeting like it was just yesterday.
Wow. Let's hear.
Is that clear?
Do tell.
Well, okay. Well, I'll tell you. I walked in the door, and I was the first one in the room.
Wow.
And for 2 weeks prior to that, I would walk to that door and I wouldn't open it. So it took a little bit for me to actually go inside. And so I went inside and I sat in this room, and there was the 12 steps and 12 traditions on the other side of the wall. And in a couple of minutes, a man walks in and offers me a cup of coffee. And that guy later became my sponsor. He was the very first person I met in AA. He was an older guy. At the time, at the time he was in his 50s, So, but he became and he was such a kind person. He was the best sponsor you could ask for, because he didn't put any pressure on me. He said, "You don't worry about anything. Just don't drink. Go to meetings." And he kind of was a very supportive person. But anyway, so at that first meeting, what I remember is people came in after he introduced me, and people walked into the room, and they, here in the Midwest, and maybe they do this in Georgia too, Mary, they give us a first step meeting if you're new to AA to do that. Yeah. So everybody goes around, they share their story. And the first time I heard someone say, "My name is so and so, I'm an alcoholic," that's dropping a mask.
Yes.
I was shocked. It was like a slap in the face. It was like, I can't believe you just said that about yourself. That's, I can't believe you said that. Because anyone that would ever insinuate that I was an alcoholic, that was a really dirty word, and to hear that, like, oh man, it was just amazing. And then everybody would say that. And the first time I was able to say that, it was a real relief. It really was a relief to say that.
Yeah.
And that's a good example of dropping a mask. But anyway, yeah. So I remember these people being so authentic with me, sharing not just what happened to them, but how they felt about these experiences they had, about their drinking. And I could identify so well with how they felt about their drinking, the shame, the fear, all of that. But they also had a certain lightness about them and a sense of humor, and they smiled. And at the same time, they could see I was suffering, and they looked at me with some compassion. It was just a very weird dynamic with all these different things going on. But I could sense within them that those stories were their past. And they seemed to me so confident and well put together and everything. The meeting was downtown. They were all on their lunch break from work. And this is back in the 80s when we dressed nice to go to work, if you remember that. So they all dressed up nice and everything. And I was just in awe of these people, and they gave me hope right away. So that was my first meeting. My dog's barking. She has gotten into such a bad habit of barking, and I don't know what to do. All it takes is one person to walk on the sidewalk, and she barks like crazy.
We don't care. I like to hear a dog barking. It's fine with me.
Yeah,
it's not that bad. Don't worry about it.
Anyway,
but it's great that you remember every detail, and what you remember that they were kind.
Yeah, they were very kind.
And they were confident. I remember in another recovery, not AA, but I remember seeing the people laughing a lot, and they looked so like happy and having fun. And I was thinking, this is serious, like, why are y'all laughing at shit? But now I realize that we say what our truth is, we work through our recovery, and then we can laugh at ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's a sign of really being okay, comfortable in your own skin, that we can laugh and be honest about the things we used to do and that we've learned from.
Yeah, it's that dark gallows humor, but it's also just knowing that was the old me, and I was crazy, and I can't believe I thought that way, and I can laugh. I can laugh about it now. I like Jason's comment here: "To thine own self be true," which is what they put on the coins, and that to me always meant self-honesty, which was also a challenge. It
is a big challenge. Yes, to have your own personal integrity.
Yeah, and if you're going to be authentic.
Yes.
If you're going to be authentic and not have a mask, you're going to have to be honest with yourself as well.
Yeah.
But Bree loves the first step meetings. She loves them.
Yeah, okay. I love them too. I saw this quote I just wanted to share that I put on our little our Facebook group for my women's group, and it says, "Friendly reminder that you have zero control over how other people perceive you, so you might as well just be the person you want to be anyway."
I like that. And how hard we work at trying to get others to perceive us the way that we want them to.
Yep. Yes.
I never even think about it. It just kind of comes natural, you know. It's as natural as me to kind of wear these different masks today as it was for me to lie when I was drinking,
Yeah.
to lie
Yes.
about whatever, you know.
You only had 3.
Only had a couple, or anyway. John has a comment here. I used to think that people would not like me if they knew the real me. Little by little, I stopped caring about others' opinion of me, kind of what you just shared about. And now I show others my real self. I came to feel okay with myself.
Mhm.
Interesting.
And I think that's a huge part of it. Being authentic is being comfortable with your own self.
Yep, it
Yep.
is.
And that's, takes time.
It does.
It takes time. It takes a lot of personal growth.
You know, as we go through this, what I'm going to be talking about mostly, I think, where I wear my mask, and I wonder sometimes if I struggle with is maybe it's appropriate for me to, or maybe it's not. I don't know, but for me, it's at work.
Mhm.
I'm not that open about who I really am, as a person in recovery at work, and part of that is I don't really want to have that as my identity. You know, part of it is maybe fear that people will judge me or not understand. I don't like being like the center of attention, or thought of, looked at differently. But on the other hand, it would make me feel more comfortable. Like, I went to some work thing where I was out of town for a week and there was drinking going on, during that. In fact, did I tell you the story about how, I don't know if I told you the story, but so we're at this place, everybody's drinking, and they have a bar where you get free drinks. Well, I assumed I could go up there and get a Coke.
Yeah.
They had no non-alcoholic drinks. They only had beer and wine. I couldn't
Wow.
believe it. And so I was standing in this line, and the woman in front of me, which was really interesting, she also was wanting a non-alcoholic drink. And she was in front of me, and she was really upset that they didn't have an option for people who didn't want to drink alcohol. And I said, "Man, I'm right there with you." I was like, so happy that there was someone else there who didn't drink, because the culture at that company is that it's fun, and this is how we socialize and relax with each other, by drinking. And they don't even leave a space for anyone who isn't comfortable with that. And it would have been so nice if they would have just had the option for people who don't drink, or even to acknowledge that there are people who might not drink. So that when I say that, I think sometimes that I need to speak up, and mention that, listen, you really have to have an option for people who don't drink.
Yeah.
You can't have somebody standing in line who doesn't want alcohol to be told that they don't have anything for them. That's not right. Of course, there were waitresses walking around and stuff, but it wasn't the same.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
stuff like that. And so now I'm going to go to another one of these things. I'm going to Atlanta, actually. I'll be in Atlanta. I'm leaving tomorrow and coming back on Wednesday. So I'm going to be around these people again. And already they're having invitations to bars and drinking and all this kind of crap. And so we were talking beforehand. I'm starting to figure out there's other people in my company that don't drink. So we were talking beforehand about they're having this big event at a beer place. And they were all, talking about how they're going to drink. And then one person who's going to be someone I report to says she doesn't drink. I thought, well, cool. And another person says she doesn't drink. Two people in that meeting. So I'm starting to feel more comfortable about, going into maybe why, I don't drink. And I don't know how important that is, but it's part of dropping, I guess, that part of my mask. And maybe it would be good for others to see that, some people's experience with alcohol isn't that great.
Yeah.
It is kind of a dangerous drug, an addictive substance that kills a lot of people. And maybe, I don't want to be the wet blanket on their party, but let's just acknowledge that this isn't really necessary for. I'm going off again. I'm
You're
sorry.
like,
This
no.
is just, I've been talking about this on the last 3 episodes I've recorded. It's obviously on my mind. I'm
But, it's
sorry.
okay. And I think people, when you say you don't drink, then people always ask more
They
questions.
do.
They always want to know why, and they try to figure it out.
They
So
do.
I always have a pat answer ready, and I just blow them off with like an answer I've already figured out. And I usually say I don't like hangovers, and I just keep going.
Yeah.
And then at those places, I usually get a ginger ale with a lime in it with a little stir stick, so it looks like I'm drinking. So I understand, and
Yeah.
somebody who ever figured that out really should probably have had soft drinks at the bar. I mean,
Yeah.
why not?
I think the next time I'm asked the question, this is a recovery coach I interviewed told me that I should do this. I should turn the question around on them and ask them, why do you drink? Why are you drink? Why are you doing that? But I think what I'm going to do, if I'm asked that question, I'm going to say, I had a problem with it when I was younger and I had to stop.
You can if you want to.
I think that's,
I don't give them that much information personally.
yeah.
Yeah, because I don't want to be asked. But usually it's a sticky situation because I want to put the wall down so they don't ask me any more questions because
I know that's the whole thing, and that's what I think about too. But anyway, let's go through some of these more comments before I haven't even gotten to tactic number 1 yet. But let's go through some of these real quick. Oh God, I have been going off on this subject. I'm glad that people from work don't even know about this podcast because all I do is trash them and how they feel about alcohol. So
hey, don't worry about it. They'll never know, and it's on your mind. So that's what we talk about here. We drop the mask and we talk about what we're really thinking about.
Yeah.
So
and it is on my mind. I'm gonna be around all these people drinking again.
Yeah, there you go.
Thinking it's so much fun. Our masks are a big, complicated issue. This is from Larry. We all have them and may not be aware of them. They hide our vulnerability, but they can also be used as a tool for advantage. Thank you, Larry, for that.
Yeah.
He also says, I have seen and probably been two-faced behavior. Ed says there are more cons for masks. Interesting. There are pros and cons to everything.
Yes.
And Ed is pointing out there are more cons for masks, but there are times masks are necessary. I like this. That's the thing. The world isn't black and white. There's always room for,
Yeah, there's gray everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, Steve is in the room. So he said, overall, my masks are defense mechanisms. They falsely protect me from unwanted pain overall. But he acknowledges there might be room for a mask at times. There might be, like you said, Mary, maybe there's times I don't want to disclose everything to everybody.
I don't want, it's none of their business. But, I used to be in the field of airlines and they would always say, well, did you used to drink? That would be the next question because it's a big cultural drinking situation. And then it would and then if you said yes, then they'd kind of go, oh, so I just shut it down. And I feel like people just want to see your reaction. And if you're comfortable with your answer, then they're comfortable. They don't ask as much.
Yeah.
But if they did, I would tell them if they got real specific. Not a problem.
And John says, I used to think that it was okay to lie to others as long as I knew the reality about myself. I lied to myself more than anyone else. I did too. That's the thing that shocked me so much when I first, realized that I needed help with this drinking thing was that why did I not know this sooner? Because I was lying to myself. Ed says that there's a fantastic book about Unmask, and I'll have to check them out. Joe Bob has a very interesting way. He just tells people that he has a disease no lethal to me than cancer. That's a nice way to, I actually once I did once ruin a party by telling people something like, so here's the deal. I was at an atheist convention. I think I've told this story before. And we were going to meet Neil deGrasse Tyson. He was in the room.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was
at an atheist convention.
Mm-hmm. He
wow.
was super. He was one of the speakers. He was super nice guy. I got to talk to him for a while. He spent as much time as he was there till late hours and hours because he spent so much time talking to people. Anyway, we were waiting in line for him, and everybody's having drinks and they're happy and they're excited. And all of a sudden, I start telling them about secular AA meetings and how I'm in AA. And it was like everybody went, oh, like they just, first of all, I mentioned AA at a atheist conference. I did say it was secular. And then they're all drinking and I tell them I'm an alcoholic. And so it was kind of like, so I did kind of it went from laughter to quiet. But anyway, Neil deGrasse Tyson was great. I loved talking with him.
Yeah,
and I had my picture taken with him too.
Nice.
Steve says, one-to-one therapy counseling has really helped me be more authentic with myself and others. AA opened the door to this. I agree many in the rooms do practice being authentic and share in the present moment and are good role models for authenticity and vulnerability. Although many just share from the big book and lecture or spout rhetoric. So true.
Very true.
And what a big difference it is between those who just share from their heart about who they really are and those who just quote things from a book,
Right. Yep.
There's a big, huge difference. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep.
Agreed.
And, I do like AA. I really do. There's a lot of value to it. And the thing about AA that is really special is the bond between one alcoholic and another. It's the dropping the mask, it's being authentic with another person about who you really are to help that person figure out who they really are.
Hmm.
And it's not the literature, it's not the steps, all that stuff. The steps are great, but it's that
Hmm.
component I think is so special and unique. It's the one thing I remember the most from that first meeting that I
Yeah.
really liked about AA.
And you can always tell when someone's being authentic. The vibe changes in the room.
Mhm.
You can feel it and I can feel it if I'm ever sharing and I start to get teary-eyed that I've connected with that spot of truth within me where it really hits home.
Yeah.
You can tell everybody's got a radar for authenticity. Everybody does. But it's not to say we don't need masks in our professional life.
Right.
And,
Right.
and that mask can not only be what we say, but how we look, how we dress, how we speak. All of those are masks in a way, but there's different costumes for different roles.
Yeah. And which makes total sense. Okay, let's get to this article. Let's go to tactic number one about how you can remove your mask and show the real you. And this is what she has written here. Tactic number one: get real about defining your authentic self. What don't others know about you? What don't others know about you? What about your personality and your life lights you up? What is it about your personality and your life that lights you up? What is so crucial to who you are that you can't describe yourself without including those values and traits? Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Say that last sentence again.
What is so crucial to who you are that you can't describe yourself without including those values and traits?
Yeah, that's something because, a lot of times we don't know who we are. We don't know what we like and what we don't like. I mean, it takes time to figure that out. And a lot of times we're just comparing what we think we should be to other people's outsides. And those are our role models, but we don't really know what's going on in the inside. So it takes a while to just try stuff out. And, you got to get sober first to figure it out.
When I look at these, when I look at the questions that she asked under get real about defining your authentic self. So, what don't others know about you? I'm thinking again about the workplace. They don't know that I'm in recovery. They don't know I'm an atheist. They don't know that I have a podcast about being a secular person in recovery. They don't know any of that and how important that is to me. What about your personality and your life lights you up? What about my personality and your life that lights you up? I don't know about that, honestly. I don't know. What about I don't know how to even answer that question. Do you know how to answer a question like that? What about your personality and your life lights you up?
Well, I think you can leave the personality part out and just put what about life
Life
lights you
that
up?
lights
Yeah.
you up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I think sobriety for me is about also finding out how to have fun and you know, tend to be more of a workaholic and I have to figure out what is fun
Yeah. Yep.
and do that, do more of that.
Yep. Yeah, what lights me up. It would be getting to know other people. I really do like that. I do enjoy that. I enjoy learning from other people, getting to know other people. It's one reason I like this podcast and live stream is that you have an opportunity to do that. And so that's something. I don't know about my personality though. That I don't know how to answer that. And what's so crucial to who you are that you can't describe yourself without including those values and traits. So you know,
Well,
I guess, my values, and I don't know how this would ever come up, but, I do value self-honesty. I do value, being of service, where I can, you know, and being a good partner to my wife. These are things that I value, I suppose. So I guess, when I'm thinking about all of this, I think how much of me do I really want people to know?
mhm.
Like it was mentioned earlier, sometimes it's appropriate to have to hold a little bit back. So a lot of comments about the drinking thing. Most people don't seem to care that I don't drink. I think there are more people that don't drink in my area of Southern California, part of being healthy. I know that's what gets me. I mean, the culture overall, is not like it was, when I was younger in the 1980s drinking. People would go out on their lunch hour and drink and so forth was pretty common. And I think that the culture has gotten a little bit better than how it used to be.
I agree.
So that's what surprises me about how I feel like sometimes I'm going back in time when I go to some of these functions where
Mhm.
drinking is almost encouraged like that, but it's just,
And I
I don't
know
know.
people I've talked to in my own family that might have a problem with drinking. They might be a functioning alcoholic, and they say, "I don't know how I would do my job if I didn't drink," because they can't imagine doing all the social part without drinking with other people. They
Yeah.
can't even imagine it. But,
Yeah.
most people I find are not paying attention to what you're drinking or not.
Most people aren't. And the ones that are probably have a drinking problem themselves because I know one guy who definitely did have a drinking problem because at this one event where he was actually drunk and he was giving me a hard time because he wanted my drink ticket, you know. Oh Jesus. Crazy. Okay, so Bree says, I remember revealing my authentic self vividly. It was the winter solstice of 2019 at the Saturday We Agnostic AA meeting. This is part one. I laid down my carefully crafted 50-year-old man shield and let the love and understanding of the group embrace me. I resonated about the non-alcohol beverage comments. My sister fired her wedding planner over it. Isn't that interesting? So I bet did the wedding planner not have any idea that people don't drink? You know, it was just he thought it was like 1978 or something. Oh God, Larry, what is it about our behavior or actions that we feel we need to keep ourselves hidden? Shame,
Yeah,
shame.
true. That's true. It takes courage to say what you really think and to be who you really are, I
Yeah,
think, in this world.
I
But,
think there
yeah,
is
I
shame.
resonate to people that are authentic. I really resonate with people that that
I
their
do too.
mask is off.
I
Yeah.
do too.
Mhm.
You know, I'm talking about work all the time lately, but this is the only place I know people outside of my family and work. Okay, so anyway, there was one meeting that we had at work where the lady who's like I don't know what her title was, but she runs all the meetings and she serves under the CFO. Anyway, she one time opened up this meeting from the whole company and she talked about her father's alcoholism and her mother's mental illness and what she learned from that experience growing up in a family like that. And she related it to work in an inspiring way. And it was so moving to me to have someone get open like that that I sent her an email and thanked her and told her a little bit about me and my family's experience with mental illness and my recovery. And she wrote me back a very nice email where she encouraged me to be more open about my recovery, you know? And I've never forgotten that, but I've never really taken her up on that. But she made and I don't know, I hope that other people were as impressed and helped as much as I was, but she made me feel more comfortable, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Because like Larry says, she took that shame. She had there was no shame, you know.
Mhm, mhm.
She was completely open about it and actually talked about it as an experience that she was able to rise above and
Mhm.
used in a useful way to help her in her life. And it was a
Yes.
very inspiring story and no shame involved whatsoever. So kudos to her for being so authentic like that, you know, and dropping her mask.
And people that are authentic give permission to other people to be
They
authentic.
do.
Yeah,
They
it's sort of a
do.
permission vibe.
So there's a lot of good stuff in my workplace. There's stuff like that. There's stuff going on I need to remember like that. Okay. Anyway, let's go through tactic number 2 now. Okay. Tactic number 2. Paint a picture of how you present yourself, your public mask. Paint a picture of how you present yourself, your public mask. Okay. How would others describe you? Mhm. What are the things you try to portray when interacting with others? What do you think you are trying to protect by portraying yourself this way? Interesting. Now, I have different masks in different places, you know, but I think the workplace, I think people would describe me as quiet and serious. Quiet and serious. What are the things you try to portray when interacting with others? I just, I do have. I mean, I'm not totally, you know, glum, but yeah, I think because I am uncomfortable in some of those situations that most people describe me as quiet and serious, and I do try to portray that that I care about like my the people who report. I care about the people who's I'm their manager. I care about them. What do you think you're trying to protect by portraying yourself this way? Oh Lord. You know, I it'd be my wife even I must wear a mask around my wife too. She says when she'll hear me doing this live stream, she says, "You're so lively. You're so lively and outgoing." And we laugh a lot here at home, but when I'm talking to her, I'm not as lively and animated as I guess I am on this live stream. Uh, but
Well, I mean, but you're on a live stream for
it's a different
crying
thing.
out loud. I mean, you can't.
You can't be like the. It'd be
Nobody would
crazy.
even be looking if they thought it was just like a gray sheet with no
True.
human in it.
True.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing that we are a little bit bubbly when we're on a
Yeah.
live
Well, I
stream.
think.
Although, who wants
Yeah.
to watch some dull person that just that
Yeah.
it'll put you to sleep.
I mean, our attention span's about 3 seconds. But but in talking about all of this, I also have had a learning curve into learning to be vulnerable here on the podcast because I have never done a podcast before.
Yep.
I've never done what I'm doing right now, and I have been data timing it on learning to just be myself
Yeah.
and comfortable in front of a camera, comfortable in front of people that are just
And you
watching.
look great, by the way.
Well, gee, thank you very much. But it's like that's a mask I put on. If you saw me before I sat down right now, you don't want to. Yeah. So I'm just saying there's little helpful hints and filters that do wonderful things. But I'm a visual person, so I'm always I look at things that way. But it has, as far as just being myself and being vulnerable, because this podcast is recorded, it'll be out there forever. I mean, there's a lot of vulnerability to sitting here.
Yeah.
Period. And
There is.
I wanted to do this because I wanted to get to a deeper place of vulnerability in a professional manner. And here I am.
Yeah.
So, and I also wanted to do something I was really afraid of doing because I didn't want to
Yes.
be living in fear. So that's why I'm here too. Plus, I love secular AA and I want it to grow.
Right.
Yeah. So I think it's always easier for other people to also say who we are. Like I can say a million things about who you are, John, because it's so easy. It's hard for us to say that about ourselves or see ourselves as others see us.
Right. That is hard. I can relate to that, overcoming that, I guess, hesitancy or fear, I guess, of just being out there in public on video, on YouTube, talking about,
Our innermost lives.
our innermost lives, our recovery, where anybody can find us,
Anyone can find us.
And I'm even trashing my workplace. They might find this someday.
But the chances are slim. But you're also
Slim.
doing service.
It's slim because it's a logarithm. That's how people find us. If you find this podcast, chances are you need help with your drinking. Chances are you might have a
you might have a drinking issue if you landed here.
If you landed here, or it might be that you're in recovery and you're just so freaking tired of the God stuff. That's why you're here. That's why because the YouTube logarithm is so good, they drive you here.
Yes.
And there have been people who've told me that too. Okay, we got another comment before we go to the next tactic here. We've got Jason. I think I portray that I'm intelligent and invulnerable. Invulnerable. I am probably protecting myself from being hurt or rejected. Great questions. Has me thinking why I'm afraid to get hurt. I know they are really good questions. They do make you think about things. It's a really timely topic for me. I'm taking this to heart, and I'm going to be careful. What I decide to do. What mask I decide to drop and what mask I decide to keep.
Yeah.
But
and you have to read the room and read the environment you're in.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's also a creative expression because I'm an artist. So like when you're sitting and writing a story or you're painting a picture or you're making a project, that's where my vulnerability goes because then people are going to look at it and you're kind of putting your inner soul out there to be judged in a way.
And I think also there's like an appropriate setting and time. Like, don't be the wet blanket of the party. If everybody's laughing and having a great time, don't bring up some serious thing or whatever. Just wait for the appropriate time to be yourself. Fred says, one of my masks is portray myself as being smart. Comes from an early insecurity about feeling dumb. Had to repeat first grade. Wow. Yeah, I can relate.
We all compensate. We compensate for all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and recovery is just about recovering that innermost part of us that doesn't need change. It's fine just the way it is.
Yeah.
And all the defenses we put up around it are hard to keep up with. It's harder to keep up the defense than just be the truth, I think.
Mm-hmm.
At some point you're just like, wow, I just can't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
can't do it anymore. It's too much trouble.
Yeah. Okay. Tactic number 3. Create an inventory of behaviors that are critical to expressing who you really are. What behaviors are a true reflection of your authentic self? What happens when you show your authentic self? How do you feel when you exhibit these authentic behaviors? These are tough questions. I mean, how authentic do you really want to be? But that's create an inventory of behaviors that are critical to expressing who you really are.
Oh, that's good. That's a good question. I
Yeah,
mean, that to me is like about creative expression. But therapy also has a lot to do with that because you can be 100% honest with your therapist. So
true.
the need for therapy or to talk honestly with another human being in the program or a therapist or whomever, I think helps us to actually say the thing and to be 100% honest with another person. And that's sort of some of the principles within the recovery program itself.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've actually been in therapy, on a regular basis, and I can see how I could benefit from it today. I am helped by a lot of what I've learned through my interactions with other peer support specialists.
Hmm.
That helps me. The podcast and what I learn here helps me, and what I read helps me. But I am missing that component of having someone to listen to me, I guess,
Yes.
and to help me think things through.
Hmm.
And it might be a good idea for me just to go, just to like a mental health checkup, see
Yeah.
where am I now?
Hmm.
What am I doing? Where do I want to go? I'm at a different phase of life now. It might be a good time for me to do that, to get checked up like that. So I'm
Yeah.
all for therapy. It's always helped me so much. I did therapy for a very long time when I was younger, and it was a tremendous help to me. That is the first place where someone helped me connect my physical well-being with my mental well-being, was
Hmm.
through a therapist. I wasn't getting that anywhere else. I think that you hear that more, now, but at that time, that was the only place I heard it. Because at that time, people in AA were sitting around smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee. Nobody was
Yeah.
talking about anything else.
Nobody was talking about anything else. No,
No.
there's a lot more to recovery than putting down the bottle.
Yeah.
And we live in our heads I mean, we always go to the doctor for checkups, but
Yeah.
mostly we live in our heads. And so, when do we go to the head doctor? And
Right.
also you can talk to a sponsor if you believe in sponsorship or if you participate in that aspect of recovery, that's a good place, or just a friend in recovery, or just a close
Sponsors.
friend that you feel emotionally
Yeah.
comfortable with.
I think it's important. I really do. Someone who will listen and understand. Other comments here. Uh,
See
okay.
what did Larry say? Yeah, I want to read that.
John, I hope you share your strength more with the world. Maybe try out more at your business function. That too is covered with a mask. It is. Now Larry has dropped all masks, I think. I mean, he went out there and, he was Mr. Public, and I'm going to sue Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah.
He was out there, and yeah, I don't know, Larry. I've got a lot to think about. The more I think about my workplace, there are some good people there who I like being around. It's just an appropriate way to drop my mask. I mean, I'm not going to do it. I think there's an appropriate way, maybe in one-on-one individual conversations when it's appropriate, when it comes up,
Yeah.
and just be more comfortable with who I am in those types of conversations. And, that I think that's all that's necessary, I believe. So I will definitely start doing that, I think. Behaviors are defined by principles we live by, and our principles are formed by our core values. Boy, this is good stuff, Ed. Living fully within my values will lead to authenticity.
Yep.
And
Talk the talk and walk the walk.
yep. Now we understand our values, I think, in a different way. We don't in AA, I don't think the values are addressed, front and center, like what are my values, but you come to understand yourself better through the inventory process, through the through the fourth and fifth steps, I think you really do get to know yourself better, and you do get an idea of what's important to you. Although maybe, in my case anyway, I wasn't consciously thinking, okay, now what are my values, but I think I was getting that from that experience of introspection, right?
Yes.
Well, in smart recovery, they do take a look at what your values are. What do you value, and put those in order. And they do that as a way of, they use it in a lot of different ways, but one way is to help somebody motivate them to want to have sobriety, because a lot of times, a lot of the things that we really value in our life are being diminished because of our using, or our addiction,
Agreed.
and
100%.
so it's like we value that takes the place of all these other things we value. So if we can, being in recovery, I think is living more in not being in conflict with our core values, living
Yes.
in accordance to our core values, which is
Yes.
authentic. Well, Larry says, I still have my mask. 40 years of therapy are helping. 40 years, my goodness. And there's
But
nothing
also,
wrong. Oh,
drinking and using are ways to cover up our vulnerability, because sometimes we're just so vulnerable, it hurts. It just
yes.
hurts to be a human being. And so numbing that off seems like the easier way, but
Yeah.
ultimately it's the harder way.
Yeah. Jay Monty, getting old helps mask
Yes,
falling.
100%.
Yeah, it does.
100%.
It does. I gotta say, I'm less concerned about what people think about me, I guess, than I used to be, for sure. Um, so in that sense, yes, I'm much different. I'm also more secure in who I am emotionally, and more secure just like with finances and home and stuff like that. So I don't have that pressure of, if people
Proving
find out who I
Yeah.
really am, they're not gonna, if I, whatever happens or
Yeah.
whatever. So
You don't have to prove yourself.
right,
Yeah.
right. So there's a lot of truth to that.
A lot of
Uh,
truth.
John says, my Sunday AA meeting is very open to non AA ideas. I enjoy hearing and discussing different ideas. Yes. And Ed says, we tend to focus on character defects rather than character assets. I know the language, that's the problem. The language, if you can, it's so easy to get hung up on the negative language of the fourth step when you take a look at character defects, but just the language. But there's different ways of viewing them, and there are some great books out there, like coping mechanisms, what they really were.
Yeah.
These were behaviors that just don't work anymore for me, but they worked when I was drinking. They worked to keep my drinking going. They worked to keep me sick. Character defects is what they called them back in 1939, but they were really ways that I was coping with a dysfunctional life.
Yeah. They're like, I see them as defense mechanisms.
Yes. Yep.
And I wish they didn't think about it then, but it would be great when you do an inventory to just list all your character assets. That
It is.
to balance out the shame and guilt of all the character defects. I don't even like that terminology.
No, me either. And I dislike it more and more all the time. But yeah, it's just like, it's something to have to overcome. If you were writing a book today, you would not use that terminology, I don't think.
No.
And that's evident by the books that are being written today. The secular books that deal with the steps are now addressing that issue in a completely different way, in a more positive way. And yes, looking at assets. In fact, I'm thinking about Jeffrey Munn's book. What I like about Jeffrey Munn's book,
How to Stay Sober Without God.
when he talks about change, when it comes to the things that you learn about yourself in the fourth and fifth step, he talks about not removing things, but adding positive things, adding positive traits. What do you want to be? Who do you want to be? What do you really value in your life? And adding those things, because it's much easier to add than it is to try to have something removed. Yeah.
100%.
And if you act like, if you're, let's say that you are selfish, just say you're selfish, and you, instead of just trying to be unselfish, maybe you do want to just do the opposite. Just do the opposite of whatever it is that you want to change, right? Take the contrary action is something I just read in a book here recently. Take the contrary action.
So will you
Oh,
highlight what Walker said? I like this quote.
okay, this one down here about style.
Yep.
Um, Style is knowing who you are, what you want to say, and not giving a damn. Gore Vidal.
I like that. That's awesome.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. There's a lot of comments down there. All the world is a stage. All the men and women merely players.
Very true. We
That
all have roles we play.
we certainly do. Maladaptive was the word I was searching for. Okay. And I left my old coping mechanisms behind. Mostly I am who I am, good and bad. I tried to accentuate the positive now. Okay. Let's go on to tactic number 4. Well, this is actually working, Mary. This list, we're
Good.
actually having a conversation. Seriously, everybody, when we started here, we were totally unprepared. We had no idea what kind of conversation we were going to be having about this. I was telling Mary, something I never really given that much thought to, honestly, but it's turned out pretty well. Okay, tactic number 4. Create a list of the behaviors that have served you well. What are the behaviors and traits that you have portrayed and have served you well? Have you experienced deepened relationships and interactions as a result of these behaviors? Do these behaviors reflect your authentic self? This is a lot to think about. Create a list of the behaviors that have served you well.
You mean like being open, being courageous, vocalizing my opinion?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah, those types of things. And then thinking about that, and have you experienced deepened relationships and interactions as a result of these behaviors? So when you are more open and when you do express your opinion, I'm sure that it does help your relationships with other people.
Yeah.
It does
And now,
deepen them.
yeah, it does. And now I'm learning how to keep my mouth shut. It's a whole new phase for me. I'm learning to not say the thing and just nod. I'm learning to smile and nod.
So were you naturally a person that would express your opinion and how you felt about something? Or
Not when I was young. When I was young,
Okay.
I just my opinion was always different than everybody else's, so I was scared to verbalize it. But then I guess as I progressed, yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
people would call me bossy, and I would say, "I'm not bossy. I just know what you should be doing." And now I'm learning to I don't have to. They can figure it out themselves. I don't have to. When they say the thing, whatever it is,
Yeah.
I can just let the room be silent, and I don't have to respond. I can just smile and nod.
Yeah.
And I prefer now to be the person that's easy to be around than the person that has an opinion on what you should be doing. Because I don't have to chime into I don't have to show up to every argument that's floating out there right in front of my face. I just don't.
Right.
Yeah, I'm learning
Yeah.
value in being quiet, and I've never done that before.
Ah.
It's new. It's a new thing.
So my basic personality is one to avoid all conflict, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm the one that would be quiet, if somebody's spouting off about something that I think is total BS, I don't call them on it. Basically, I'm still this way to my core, and listen. So for me, it's a real challenge to speak up, and say, no, I don't agree with that. And I guess I would in a context where it makes sense to do that, I guess, but it's difficult for me. It's something that does require work to do. And talk about being authentic. That would be it, well, we've talked about it before, setting some boundaries, for yourself, what will I tolerate and not tolerate?
Yeah, that's true. That's what you have to figure out, what you're willing to tolerate and not.
Yep. Yep. And when someone crosses that boundary, is to stand up for yourself and let them know that, wait, no,
Yeah.
that's not appropriate. Yeah, good stuff there. Good stuff. And Ed says, taking a breath before responding has been my most fruitful behavior when engaging people. I like that.
Yeah.
Pausing and taking a breath. I had a great conversation with this woman, another recovery coach and she's a therapist for an upcoming episode. And I really enjoyed the conversation. I read her book. Her book is called The Recovery Cycle. And she talked to, like what Ed just talked about there, is not being so reactive, not just reacting to things from instinct, but, stopping and thinking things through. And I've been thinking about that more. I recognize that there's been some improvement and I'm better now, but there are still times when I'm more reactive. I react to a feeling. Oh, I know what she said. And you remind me of it too, Mary. She said, name your feeling.
Wow. Mhm.
Yeah. So, and I'm going to start doing that. Next time I'm feeling something, I'm going to tell myself what it is that I'm feeling and think about that, before I just blow up and react in some crazy way, and do something. So,
And it's also, I think, about learning to be uncomfortable. I mean, learning to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, to
yes.
just let it sit for a while and not react.
Yes. Okay. So, Tina's fifth tactic, and this should wind things up for us. Craft a plan to utilize these new behaviors to illustrate your authentic self. Can you take a risk and decide to be more vulnerable in your interactions? Can you decide to let go of the fear of how others might react to you acting differently? Can you embrace this new way of showing up more authentically because it makes you feel good?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's just practice. I think practice, practice, practice.
I think I get it now. I can answer yes to these things, that I can take these risks, but it's just a matter of doing it in an appropriate way for me. I don't want to be the spectacle and in front of a group or whatever, but I can in a one-on-one conversation when it's appropriate. If I feel like I'm holding something back, to go ahead and take the risk and not hold that back.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of times when I'm in a conversation with a person one-on-one and a topic comes up like I can relate to and my own personal experience I think would benefit the discussion, and I hold it back. And I think that what I need to work on to drop that mask and be a little bit more authentic is to not hold back in those situations where it would be appropriate to
Mhm.
bring something up like that. And because there's, again, shame is probably still the main reason that I don't do that.
Yes.
The fear that the person is going to see me in a bad light,
Mhm.
think less of me, that type of
Yeah,
things.
or whatever. If you don't go along with the main tribal approach, you might feel that you would be ostracized if you had a different opinion.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a risk. It takes courage to say what you really think.
Yep.
But, it is about practice. Just float it out there in baby steps and say the thing and see the reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And then, see that the world didn't cave in if you said what you really thought or told
Yeah.
what your real experience was.
So John tries to listen to others and ask questions to get more information or clarification or of ideas expressed. Then I can express how I feel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like we don't have to rush into things. There's another thing that this woman shared, in her book that it's. I mean, it's stuff we should know this, but for some reason reading it just we're human beings. We're not animals. We can actually think about things before
Sometimes.
before we react. Animals don't have that option. I don't think.
Well, they don't
Uh,
need. Yeah.
well, we are animals. We're human animals, but we're human beings. I mean, we have a brain. We can think. We can use it.
Right. And
And
yes.
and it's just a matter of being aware of that. Okay, we're running out of time. It's time to think about what to talk about for next week. So
Okay.
next week is going to be the week before the conference.
Mhm.
One thing we could do, Mary, if we can get someone from the board of directors to come on to talk about the conference next week
Okay.
and make that a discussion.
Okay.
Because that's the week before, isn't it?
Oh, that sounds like a great idea. I'll make that happen.
Okay, let's do that. I think that'll solve that problem then.
Okay.
So now let's maybe get some ideas about what we're going to talk about for the live stream during the conference.
Okay. No idea. What would y'all like to talk about? I have no idea. I was thinking maybe of talking to Angela to see if she wanted to come be a guest.
Get an
Uh,
update from her and what's
get
going
an
on.
update from Angela B. And but other than that, I don't know. We'll have to think. We've got 2 weeks to think about a topic.
Yeah, I think it would be good to have something that focuses on the conference itself in some way. So we're going to be doing this Saturday at the same time, 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern,
October 29th. That's
October
correct.
29th. And when does the conference itself start?
Like around 10,
10 a.m. So
something like that.
we're
Yeah.
pretty early on.
Yes.
Okay.
We're talking Eastern.
Right, Eastern
Yep.
time.
Mhm.
So we can, okay, we'll think about it some.
Yeah, and
So
if y'all have any ideas, just put them in the comment section.
John wants to know where he can get information about the conference. So I'm going to go ahead and put a link to their Facebook page, but also I'm going to type in their email address. It's secularaa at gmail.
And also I will, I'll have hopefully a flyer for you next week that will show what the schedule is and what the time slots are and who's going to be doing what. We're going to have lots of authors, meetings, all kinds of topics that you've never seen before at an AA conference for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll have this podcast. I'll be doing a women in recovery panel, and it's going to be something for everyone. And we'll also have Spanish interpreters, and we'll have it'll go so that the people in Europe can also attend, so it'll go late. And mark your calendar, October 29th and 30th.
Okay. Well, I'll definitely be there. So I put links out there for you to, if you want more information, John, about the conference and how to access it. You can email the Secular AA board at secularaa@gmail.com. You can go to their Facebook page. Just go to Facebook and search Secular AA, but it's facebook.com/secularAA. Or you can go to their website. If you type in seculara.org, it'll take you to their website, or
or if you type in ICSAA,
probably, yeah,
ICSAA.
yeah.
Yep.
And they have some information up there. They haven't actually firmed up the schedule yet, but we'll probably have that next week, I'm sure, when the people come on. Okay, then. So definitely get someone on here, Mary, and that's what we'll be doing for next week.
I'll do that.
And then we'll figure out something for the conference itself.
Great.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for participating. It's been wonderful. We've had more than 20 people here throughout, and I'm really grateful for that. I'm grateful for your participation in this live stream and in this community. It means everything to me. So here we go. Bye, everyone.